Well, hello, everybody. My name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food. And today, Friday with a Friend, we have Laurel, who came upon me. She's been like a lurker, and then she comes upon me and says, I'll interview if you think I'm appropriate. It's like right into that cauldron she goes. So hi, Laurel. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me and think that I was appropriate just from our note exchange. So
You
very brave woman.
you are you are great. I love you. Your hair is great. Your smile's beautiful, and you'll be just fine. So, in 10,000 words or less, what have you been up to your whole life with your food?
Once upon a time. Um, let's see. I was always a very large kid. I was 147 pounds in the fifth grade. Um, Always being put on a diet by my mother. You have to have Melba toast and a scoop of cottage cheese, and that whole thing. And then the Sago drinks came out, or those Slender drinks. She'd send me to school with those and that kind of thing. So anyway, I tried to wrestle down the weight through high school, and then when I got to college on my own, I could really restrict food and over-exercise. So I was able to stay around the size that I am now through really restricting food and over exercising. And then right after college, real life set in, and I wasn't able to control my schedule as much. I gained 100 pounds in the first year after college, and it started coming on like wildfire. And I knew it, and I couldn't stop it. And so I had been through enough dieting and such that there's something deeper, the reason that I'm eating so much. So I went to different therapists and this and that. And when someone didn't tell me I was what I wanted to hear, then I would go to the next one. I owned a restaurant at the time in a large scale catering business, which is not about self care at all, at all. And so then I get another therapist. My first day in session, we're just getting to know each other, and I'm on the way out the door. And while I'm there, I don't mention the weight, but she wants me to go to do two things before I see her again. She wants me to go see about going to Al-Anon. I never told her I was married to an alcoholic because I didn't call it those words at the time. So she already saw through my stuff. And she gave me this wrinkled up book. It was all dog-eared and whatever. Dr. Atkins' Diet Revolution. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
How old were you?
I was 30 years old.
Okay.
I'm 54 now. So she gave me that book. For some reason, I went home and started reading it. I was like, I don't want to read this, but I did. And I devoured it in like all that day into the evening, and I went to the local grocery store right before they closed and bought all the food that I could have on Atkins. Started absolutely immediately. Lost 60 pounds the first 3 months.
Wow.
And I did go to Al-Anon, and in the same church where that was, across the way, was an Overeaters Anonymous course. I'm like, hey, might as well just sign up for that too. So I went over there. They give you a sponsor pretty lickety split, but they didn't acknowledge Atkins. They wanted to put you on kind of their plan, whatever your sponsor's plan is. It's kind of bizarre. So I broke up with them super fast and kept on my Atkins journey. And back then, there was not the internet or anything. I would try to read as much science as I could find to why this diet was working. Oh, and by the way, good stuff started happening, and I was losing weight, taking care of myself. My self-worth was rising. I changed careers. Lots of stuff happened. And, but I couldn't get my hands on enough science to tweak Dr. Atkins, what was happening with it. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew I was making progress. And even back then, I kept it very, very secret, because it was just such a crazy concept to eat that way. And so anyway, I just kind of just take the journey super slow. The scale did not move after that first 60 pounds. It moved like a turtle, which is why I've always had this little doodah, this little turtle
Oh.
connected with you right away. Sometimes I put him in my pocket and carry him with me. Um, so anyway, I just kept doing Atkins, and then sometimes I would go on and off. And when I came, I was my highest weight that I know was 356 pounds. So when I came to 300, it seemed like success, and then I would just let it trickle down, trickle down, trickle down. And I get to 250, gain back 25 because I felt that I was a normal person and I could go back and eat some carbohydrates. Oh, I can do it. I can control it. Mm-mm. So it was like that back and forth thing. So it took me about 7 years to lose the bulk of the weight. And then the next 10 years, I was doing relatively the same thing, but I added in weight training and a serious walking program and that kind of thing, which really helped with everything, just the way I felt about myself and my mental health and all that kind of stuff. But then Atkins stops working, even when I take all carbs out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, I know how to work this program. I know how I feel, with the parameters I had to work in. So then at that time was around 2007, 2008, somewhere around in there. And at that time, the whole juicing, smoothie, vegan. Okay, I actually thought that I was wrong all this time. I'll just go in the other direction because I am such a good food restrictor and follow the rules. I can do it. Maybe I've been wrong. I'll do it. So I did, and my health deteriorated and deteriorated. That's very hard to say. Um, and I didn't try it just for a week, 4 years of doing this. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, hair falling out, eyebrows gone, my rosacea and eczema full blown. I'm back up to 220 pounds. I'm not well. It's awful. So in the middle of all this feeling horrible, I teach yoga as well, and I was talking to a friend who's an endocrinologist, and I'm trying to get information about one of my clients who's was really facing menopause, and I didn't really understand it. I was trying to read about it and whatever. She's like, "Forget that person. I want to talk about you." And she palpated my neck, and she's like, "You need to get to an endocrinologist, in your area." I was visiting her. I said, okay. So I did, took 7 weeks to get in. In short, I had thyroid cancer, lo and behold. And I've probably had the Hashimoto's thyroiditis forever, for a long time. I mean, so I was fighting that. I don't think that was the thing that made me as large, but it added to a lot of things with the autoimmune condition. So I went through that surgeries and treatment, which was not bad at all, considering that I felt really, really awful. And I told my doctor, I was like, I feel worse now than I've ever felt in my life. I can't seem to get around it. And she goes, oh, there's a nutrition component to this. I was like, oh, okay, well, what is it? So she gave me the smallest amount of information. It was on a piece of paper, and the stuff had been copied so many times it ran off the sides. The sentences weren't even complete. Like, I'm giving you this, but you have to look it up yourself, kind of thing. So I looked into it. So there's an autoimmune protocol, like the paleo world. You cut out all this stuff. And so I'm like, oh, I can do this. Basically, it's vegetables and meat. And I'm going to have to supplement now with lots of B12 and D3 and magnesium because of the cancer. They took the parathyroids as well, except for one. And anyway, I did that, and I go, I'm so smug and so, I can do this diet, and I'm going to turn my health around. You watch out. Well, that was in August of that year, which is 2014. And it took until January the following year for things to really start happening. I was losing weight, but my inflammation markers were still very high. She was saying, "Are you eating?" My cholesterol was at 100 total. That means I'm not absorbing on the nutrients and I'm not even making my own hormones anymore. Of course, age and the condition, lots of things, but I kept working it harder and harder and harder. And I lost from 220 from the day I got my surgery down to around 170. And then I was working the same diet, happy. My inflammation markers were still up. My triglycerides were still, no, my A1C was still 5.6, but I'm not eating carbs. I'm not eating fruit. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm doing it. So I take matters into my own hands. And I go, that's it. I'm getting rid of these vegetables, getting myself a keto meter. So I had never had one of those before. Atkins back in the day, you just had the little sticks. And they always worked, and now they don't work. And anyway, so I was like, oh, this is my glucose level. Oh, this is my ketone level when I eat this. A small amount of salad would even affect it. I was watching you and I got my scale, and was following on the chronometer and really following in, like dialing in how much I could have. Basically, it was nothing. In steps carnivore. So that is really where it is. And I, since then, I've lost down. I hang around 150, 152-ish. I don't weigh except for whenever I go to the doctor, which is every 3 months. I just go by clothes or how I feel. So that's the long, long story short, short, long, whatever you say. So that's that. So here
So
I am.
that's what you've been up to.
What have I been up to for all these years?
All right. So tell us what you eat, drink, or otherwise from the moment your eyes open up to when you go to bed and the timing of it all. Because I think a lot of women are fascinated with, like, the minutia.
Yes, a good point. So I wake up pretty early. I wake up and have my thyroid medicine with a sip of water, and then by nature of the medicine, you don't have anything for 1 hour, and that's totally fine. So when I actually wake up to move around, I'll drink some water first, and then drink coffee. And yes, I drink coffee black. So I drink, I don't know, big mug or maybe a little bit more. And then I'll have maybe my only meal or my first meal when I start to feel hungry, maybe around noon or 1 o'clock. And what I have for that is typically some ground beef that I've put in the pan, kind of sauteed around. And I got the large packages from Costco, then I separated up. So I did it in anywhere between 10 and 11 ounces. I already know how much is in there. And then I'll fry a couple of eggs and put on top, or I may have some soft boiled eggs in the fridge already. And I eat that and see how I feel. And usually it's totally fine. When it gets more to the later part of the day, and if I'm going to eat dinner with my Mr. Wonderful, I won't eat as much earlier. And then maybe we'll have dinner and it'll be something smaller. And I know it sounds crazy, but your appetite just goes away. It really does. The cravings are gone. Food is not the boss of me anymore. So we may cook a steak and then I'll eat half. He'll eat half. Sometimes that's my only meal. That's what I'll eat. I know this isn't that directive, but if someone had told me this information back a long time ago, I couldn't have understood it. I just couldn't. It's so crazy. So basically, I eat an array of pork and beef and lamb. I eat eggs and ghee And dairy doesn't do well with me. I have tried it. Some people really eat dairy. I don't use it. I don't miss it. It's all right. So I haven't tried to, put it back in lately. Um, I drink a lot of Topo Chico. I love that water. Snappy and spicy. I just love
It
it.
is. I love it. I know. And I saw it at Whole Foods and I said, well, I'll just try a bottle. And it was like, whoa.
I know it's so special.
It is. It is.
So really, that's it. It's not a learning to eat when I'm hungry and knowing when I stop. And the work of Dr. Robert Sivers has really helped me with that. Tweak this to the end. And that's how I connected with you, is because the day you mentioned Dr. Sivers, I go, yes, she's got the information. And I'm so happy, because before I didn't want to say anything, because you watch a lot of videos, you already hear a lot of podcasts, and you do you. And I was like, I don't want to throw this addiction model to carbohydrates in there. So anyway, so Dr. Sivers' plan.
Unbelievable how he's turned. I mean, it's like I entered OA in the mid 70s, and then I went to Al Anon. So OA was my first program, but then I went to Al Anon. But he says that the OA food plan is just another failed diet. It was like, you're right, because they had the orange sheets and the gray sheets back then, and they were so stark.
Yes.
I mean, there was, no pleasure. It was so rigid. And he's right. It was another, he said we need AA for fat people. And that's kind of how my philosophy has been able to come into, it doesn't matter what you do, it's that you do it and you get the results that work for you, right? So, like, instead of berating somebody for having a diet root beer, if that works for them, who am I? We're all works in progress. And so it's like he just came to me and this floated down on this cloud just like a week or two ago.
I
And
know.
all these people that got to listen to him before, and I love how he doesn't take prisoners, and he just does it in the way that he does it. I can't even describe him, but
It's fascinating. And
prophet.
this sounds crazy. It sounds like he's a prophet, but when I'm in his presence, he sees through all my stuff.
Oh,
And
that's right. Who's your doctor?
is
Right?
this crazy? Yes. And do you mind if I tell you and your viewers how that came about?
No, do tell, do tell.
Well, we had to put some information about where to find information, I guess, about Dr. Sivers. I got a book called, I'm like, it's Diabetes Understood or something. And it was written as a collaborative book written by lots of different people that you will know. And it was for the Tim Noakes Foundation. And I got the book because Dr. Fung was in there. I was really trying to understand how to get to fasting and what you do and that kind of thing. So there was a chapter in there by Dr. Fung, but of course I'm going to read the whole book. Well, there was a chapter in there by Dr. Sivers. Some of it was a little bit sciencey, but I started reading it. I go, forget everything else in this book. I am reading this. It's fascinating. So then I put it off, and first I say he's an obesity doctor. I don't look into where he lives or practices. It wasn't in those chapters. I went back to look at it. It wasn't. So I don't look it up because he does bariatric surgery. And just before that, I had contacted a functional cardiologist that promotes this way of living in my area in South Florida. And they're like, no, if you're not a cardiac patient, we won't take you. So I was kind of had, a little fear up. And so then I'm listening to, let's see, Low Carb MD with Brian Linsky and Dr. Tro. And Dr. Sivers was on there. So I'm listening to that. And of course, I'm like, when I was not at home, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I know this is the same doctor. I can't remember the name, but I know it's the same one. Well, I listened to it once, but not to the bitter end where they're saying their salutations and whatever. So I'm so enamored with it. I go back and listen to it again when I'm out on my walk, and it went through to the end. And he goes, "Oh, I have a practice in Florida." I go, "I'm going. I don't care where it is. Florida's a big state. I'm going. Jacksonville and Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Where do I live? Right there." I'm like, "That's it." I got home lickety split. I called up the office, said, "I just heard Dr. Sivers on this podcast, and I'm not a bariatric candidate, but I want to talk to him and manage my metabolics because this is very difficult, this way of living with a regular conventional kind of doctor." So she goes, "Well, let me talk to him and get back to you." She called me. She said, "Yes, he'll see you." So my appointment was like a week later. And by that time, I had gotten my hands on everything I could read about him. And on Low Carb USA, he has 11 videos. Have you checked those out?
Yes.
Yep, he's writing a book. So he just goes off talking. And of course, he was on Diet Doctor. He's getting ready to be on Sean Baker, which is kind of fun. And so anyway, I listened to everything, and I went there. And so I knew a lot of the stuff already. And he spends quite a long time with you. My first appointment was like 2.5 hours. He gets in there and calls you on your stuff and then starts to make the plan. And he hadn't seen my blood work yet. I went for this panel of blood work. It comes back. He wants me to come there and see him like 3 weeks later. So I did. He spent like another hour with me as he goes through everything, how we're going to get here, what's going to happen. Can you work on this? And there it goes. I've been to him 3 times. I go back at the end of July is my next appointment. So we just talk about things, and he's incredible. So if anyone is interested in how the addiction model is applied to carbohydrates, this is the work. This spoke to me like nothing else has. So.
A treat. I mean, what an unbelievable thing occurred. I mean, you just happened to read the book with him in it, looking for Dr. Fung and his intermittent fasting, and then you end up with this guy, and then he ends up talking about the practice. But until you listened to it for the second time, you didn't know that he was like right there in your backyard.
No, I couldn't believe it. And I got there, and it's kind of like I am with you, like, whoa, this is one of my heroes. I've hung on to all of your videos from a while back when you really are talking about eating in the form of addiction. And you get into that some, and you share a lot of that. And that information was like, yeah, she's got it. She's got it. And I want to hear this. And then it's been coupled with Dr. Sivers' work. And it's just amazing that I got to do that. I get to spend time with him. I feel really lucky. So the last time I was at his office, I want to get a picture made with him for my Instagram account. Because when people go to Low Carb USA, because he's starting to blow up and be in a lot of things, they got their pictures made with him, and they didn't even know who he was. So I said, "Dr. Sivers, I want to put you on my Instagram." I'm going to post the picture. I look a lot more excited than he does.
It's like meeting the Beatles in 1964.
Exactly. So anyway, it's
and have you found one hole in any part of what he's told you, or is it all like unbelievable, correct, right, just what you needed?
Just what I needed. Some of it doesn't apply because he gives you it's a step process, and he gives you a lot of, as you call it, better bad choices. And I'm already past that point, so I don't need to do that. But it was, I could learn some things. And there's things when you're with him that, of course, he doesn't say in all his videos because you can't hide anywhere. You know, he's asking you questions. And so it's been spot on. I don't know his exact credentials, but he has his PhD in psychology or something also. And so anyway, I find him brilliant, and I think he can blow this up and maybe help people. But if I tell anyone, I mean, they're almost get their back up more as much about that as they do carnivore because they don't look at it as an addiction. So it's a tricky slippery slope. So,
And some people can lose weight, be carnivore, or be strict keto, or be, wicked strict carnivore. They can do all of that and never address their addiction and be happy and have it work for them. Their train doesn't fall off the rails. But for somebody like me, everything is about food.
I'm with you.
And thinking about, I mean, when I was on Weight Watchers, I was probably as sick as I could be. I was the clock watcher. I don't know if you ever saw any of my Weight Watcher videos, but I mean, I spent as much time putting together my Weight Watcher. When I go to work on Sunday at the I was going to call it the animal shelter, the shelter for the mothers and children, each little thing that I packed a la Weight Watchers, and I stayed within my points and everything else. Did I lose weight? 17, and then it stopped. And I was listening to a woman today, and she's done keto, and then it stopped working for her. And she went to carnivore, and in 5 weeks, she lost 30 pounds.
Yowza.
Yeah. Did you lose weight once you hit the carnivore stage?
Yeah, I had been on a relatively kind of a stall. I don't know, so I don't get on the scale all the time. But I know that whenever I went to the doctor, had come down like 6 pounds right away. And I was more close to hanging around the 160-ish and maybe a little bit over 160. And then it just came down. And it's pretty much been the same, but my body is looking totally different. I actually am wearing shorts for the first time since in college. Um, when you're 356 pounds, there's a lot of fallout of spaces on your body. And I don't know if it's, I just look at myself differently. It's just a change of heart. It's probably part of that. And it's not getting any better. This is it. And then, and I don't know. It's just I'm just so happy. It's like I know I could get mad, of course, again or something like that, but that depression anxiety thing. And Dr. Sivers talks a lot about emotional management system. How do you regulate yourself if it's not with food and alcohol?
Wow. Isn't that amazing? What a great story you have. And so you have that burger with the eggs. Do you ever get sick of it?
No, I actually absolutely crave it. It's delicious. I love a big old ribeye. We also, like you, have big green egg and cook things on that, and it's totally yummy. But no, I don't crave one other thing. And I know it sounds like a lie, but it's true.
And do you ever have a vegetable?
I don't.
Never.
Never. I did before, but as I was coming in deciding to not eat vegetable, I had another flare up of my eczema and rosacea. I'd have to go to the dermatologist and have to get the topical stuff for it and that kind of thing. I was trying to manage it on my own, and I knew at this point of the game, this is part of inflammatory process. Something I'm eating is pushing this, and so, in short, I cut all that out. My skin is clear, clear, clear. And also another benefit of this, and I don't know if anyone's mentioned this, is tooth plaque buildup. I go and get my teeth cleaned every 3 months because I like the deep cleansing and something about my saliva or whatever. I floss and brush all the time, but it would build up on the backs of my teeth and be like the tartar goes straight to calculus, and it would like chip off. It's like a piece of rock in there when it comes off. It's not. It's vanished. Crazy thing. I'll take it. I can't wait. I go to my dentist June 28th. My hygienist is going to freak out. She's going to think I suddenly started doing some super flossing because she always says, "Do you floss?"
Are you seeing somebody else?
Right, exactly. You go somewhere else?
Like the lady that cleans her house before the cleaning lady comes. Do you go to a hygienist before you come here to this hygienist? Yeah. Wow.
I've been one of those people, yes. So there's just not being ruled by food. I mean, I still think of it because you have to plan. You have to plan. I can't go off the cuff so much. And if I'm going to go somewhere, then I'll decide, well, what are they going to have? And so many gatherings are just people bring platters of stuff that I don't eat. And then you just kind of walk around and walk around and walk around and eat. So I can get lost in the mix and not eat because I can eat before I go. I take my little cooler with my own fizzy waters in it, and I'm good to go. I just seem like everybody else. And so, and then you can easily fast. You don't have to plan. I like to use the word fast. I'm sorry. It's more feasting, intermittent feasting, or whatever. If I just eat one meal a day. So I just let it go like that.
Now, who is the supportive people in your circle?
Well,
You
yeah.
live with a husband, so does he eat like you, or does he just totally respect what you do and not get in the way?
Well, both. He eats like I do because I'm the cook in the house. But he totally respects where I am and doesn't give me any gruff. A little bit about the vegetable at first, but I was closing it out to be just like a teeny tiny little amount. And then it was just gone. He didn't even notice for the first 3 weeks. And then whenever I didn't put any of those asparagus on my plate, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have this. The big steak with the butter on top. And then he's like, okay, whatever. And it's totally fine. No, he has he likes one of those Lara bars or whatever in his lunchbox. And sometimes he likes a flour tortilla that he can put his egg and meat and cheese in when I'm just having the meat and cheese. So it spices up. But he's a lot younger than me, and he's also 126 pounds.
Oh, wow.
He's very fit.
Okay.
His metabolism and his immune system can handle it, but it's very, very little. And he knows that we don't have any of those chips. We don't have anything in the house, no ice cream. He's not a foodie. Of course, if you eat that kind of food, you're not a foodie, but
hold on one second. I'm doing an interview, Deb. Okay.
So that is great. And then I clue some friends in on it. But
so if he's eating, do you sit and eat with him if you're not eating?
Yeah, I sit and have a Topo Chico, or I'll have some bone broth in a mug, or sometimes because we live here in South Florida, the best time to go to the beach is in the evening. So if I eat my big meal around 3 o'clock or so, then I make a little picnic for him. We go to the beach in the evening, and then he can eat and I can just be there. So it works out. There's no pressure. But we're together, we're connecting. We go for a walk every evening. So that's really our connecting time. And then, gotta get home for Jeopardy.
I know. We have to get home for David Muir. So, it's yeah, because I always wonder about how that works when you're living with somebody who's, not into the same routine and how people handle it. Because oftentimes I'll watch women on their videos and they're eating at 2 p.m. and they say, that's it for me for the day. And it's like, do you have to like do that whole dinner thing for somebody else that you live with? I just wonder how that changes things, you know?
I too watch people and think that it could be very tricky, especially young mothers or husbands or spouses or whomever doesn't support them, and they've got to make their own plan, make excuses for it in a way. Then you got to change gears and do all these things. And what's happened to me over the years was I just quit making that kind of food. So when I was doing Atkins hardcore, of course, I owned a restaurant and a catering business. So people expected my personal gatherings to be something spectacular and the food delicious. Of course, my restaurant was making it, and I put my finishing touches on it. But I wasn't eating it. And then as time went on, I was just served the things that I would eat. And then it just kind of trickled on down. And what I think should be talked about too is these relationships and also how your personal relationships change as you change, because your role in their life changes. Instead of me always saying, oh, yes, let me fix everything, do everything. I'll make the best peach cobbler because I'm Southern, or banana pudding, and I'm not going to eat a bite of it, but I'm still going to make it. I don't promote that anymore. I won't do it. Now it's like, can you show up with one of your great salads? I'm like, no, it's going to be deviled eggs. No.
Good
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, I found the same thing too, and, I had my oldest son with his wife and 2 kids for dinner, and I went on a meat gathering, and I got pork chops, I got spare ribs, I got burgers, I got hot dogs, I got ribeye, I don't know. I mean, I just like, it was just going to be a meat fest. And I knew that whatever it went on the egg and that whatever we didn't eat that Sunday would last the whole week. And I was so delighted, I couldn't wait. It's like leftovers. And my grandson had 4 white hamburger rolls.
Did he leave them or eat them?
He ate them.
Oh, God.
That's all he had.
Oh, he put the meat in the middle?
That was it. And so he had 2 bites of his ribeye, and no way am I throwing out the ribeye, I'm not afraid of cooties.
No, that goes back in the hopper. That's what I
That
said.
goes back in. And then my granddaughter could have cared less about the ribeye as well. My, son and his wife each ate theirs, and Greg and I ate ours. But and I'm, it's a you can't say a thing. You can't say a thing. And it just it broke my heart. To me, it's like watching somebody use heroin. I mean, it's just, and it's like, what a battle that they chose to not see. And I just I feel so bad because it's like such a, I was a fat child. This is my blood. And it's like, and it happened with white flour, and I, no vegetables, no meat, just 4 hamburger buns. And
Mhm.
um
When we have gatherings, which we entertain a good amount, like the last time we did brisket on the big green egg, and I think we had pulled pork as well. I had done the day before, and then I did put out a real big salad and roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon, and I think that's all. 'Cause I don't do a lot anyway. But it's been a years of this, and no one ever says anything. They ask, can they bring something? And I usually say, no, I have it. And then someone will say, well, I know you don't ever eat dessert. Can we bring it? And I'm like, you can, but not a bit of it will be left. Not, you cannot leave it. It has to go with you. I don't care. So some people do bring things. Usually it's like when there's giant pies from like Costco or something. And I'm like, this was brought by such and such, courtesy of them. Serve yourself. I put the plates and the forks over there. I don't even touch it. I don't clean up after it. It is there. But the big display of the meat and the vegetables, and I just make it very plentiful and inviting. I like hoodoo them. They don't even know they're not getting pasta and bread and whatever. So I just like to make what I make. Now, the next time around with the vegetables, I think I've never done this, Sarah, but if somebody says they want to bring something, I'm like, yeah, you bring a salad, you bring a this, you bring a that, and then I'm just doing the meat, and you guys eat it, do what you're doing with it, and let that control go. Dr. Cybers suggested that.
That's great. Have you had, I have not had any meat cooked. Oh, I had prime rib at Christmas, but I have not had like a steak that hasn't been cooked on the big green egg because it's our big Sunday deal. I don't know if it would taste the same.
Well, I like the egg because you can put a little bit of smoking wood in there with the coals. And I must say, we have the big green egg, the large size, and we also have the mini max.
Oh, how cute.
Yes, we can take it traveling and camping. And also, if we're smoking a brisket, which takes many, many hours, or doing pork butts, and you need to eat in that day, then we can put the steak on the mini max. So we do have a gas grill. So Weber Genesis, and it's going to last forever. So it's there for backup. So like if I'm going to it was for grilling asparagus and that kind of stuff. But I did put a hamburger on there in the middle of the day rather than eating the crumbled meat. It's not the same. It's like it poached it. Like, what is this? And I cook bacon in the oven.
Me too.
It just saves, yeah, the oven gets dirty in there, but you just put it on the cleaning and it cleans it all up. So I love the big green egg. Like, I'm crazy for the big green egg.
Yeah, we use it once a week. I get the charcoal lump stuff at BJ's and the chips, flavored ones. Smoking chips for those of you listening.
That's right, smoking chips.
And yeah, we have a Weber too. And because the big green egg takes a long time to clean out, to start. I mean, Greg does that all. I wouldn't have a clue. He's got the
torch,
sprint accelerator.
Yeah, you got to have that.
Yeah, all the gear. And so it's just a once a week deal. But like I often say, cook once and eat all week. And I don't know. I just love it. I love how you do your plan as well. That's funny how you cooked that patty on the other thing and it didn't taste like.
I mean, I ate it. Don't get me wrong. I've never had a burger patty I want to eat. But if you were asking me to compare and to track, well, the egg. Now I'm not going to fire up the egg in the middle of the day, but I call it batch cooking. So, say on the Saturday or Sunday, we'll do a large piece of meat. And then throughout the week, if we're home, then I always have bone-in ribeyes. When they're on sale, I buy them and put them in the freezer, and they'll just thaw out in a couple of hours. I also cook salmon really quick in the oven, broil on 5 minutes. That's a kind of a quicker thing. But definitely batch cooking, and I do a bunch of soft-boiled eggs in my Instant Pot. That is a very good thing. And I keep my bone broth rolling, because I use that a lot, and make like egg drop soup and swirl in the eggs, and then you can put the crumbled meat. And so I follow a good amount of carnivores on Instagram. So they show their plates and what they do, and it made it easier for me. And now I've started my own Instagram and put pictures of things. I put recipes because, I'm a cook. Everyday cook at the heart of it. And I don't want to give up. I have the passion for food. I love planning it. I love buying it, just like you get that same exhilaration of going to the store and purchasing it and planning and cooking it and sharing it and enjoying it, but not letting it be the boss of me in some strange way. I'm working that out. And, but food has made me very sick in my life, and it's made me very well.
Awesome. This has been a wonderful interview. We've gone 45 minutes.
Wow. Oh,
yeah. See how fast it goes? Once you start, it's like, oh, after like 3 minutes of like, this is awkward, it gets like you're just sitting here talking with me and nobody's bringing us more coffee. So,
what a joint is this?
I know, really. This has been great, Laurel. And I will post as soon as we say goodbye to the viewers. I'll get that info and put it in the show notes about how they can find you on Instagram and any other place you want them to find you.
All right. Thank you so
This
much.
has been great. Every interview I do with a female that is carnivore is just one more person out there doing the missionary work to get us to do it. I'm still holding on to that keto pizza and that bit of veg on Sunday. I gave up the cauliflower this week, but sounds like you kind of did that slow elimination too.
It was
And
teeny tiny. And that's because you had introduced me to the chronometer and I got that scale that you did a review on. And as soon as you said, "Oh, I like this thing," I'm like, "I'm getting this thing." And that really helped me see how much it was and getting it down to the gram. It's like, what can I handle? How do I feel um, on this amount? And then just letting it go.
do you so how much meat do you think you eat in a day? How many ounces?
It could be as much as a pound and a half. That's if it's at 2 meals, but if it's in one meal, our steaks, like just for instance, just to give you a steak, usually I like the bone-in ribeyes, and they're about 1 pound each, but you got all that bone, so close to a pound, and that totally makes me satiated, and I'm not too full, I'm not hungry later, and I can last to the next day. If it's the ground beef, like I said, I made the balls for the freezer 10 to 11 to 12 ounces, and then I'll put a couple of eggs with it. So it just depends. Every day is different, it depends, how you feel and trying to eat to my hunger. And is this a hunger thing or am I bored? Am I, as you call it, the shouts?
Oh, shouts. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
Stressed,
any of those?
hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah. Am I one? I'm
Stolen.
totally one of those. And as Dr. Cyber says, any snacking is an emotional event.
That's right. That's right. Well, one more question and then we'll say goodbye to the viewers. Organ meats.
Yes, I love them. I make chicken liver pate, and I call it the knock you naked bacon bomb chicken liver pate because there's a lot of bacon in it. And I make it in my Instant Pot. Yes, I eat that. I do like beef heart, harder to source. They only have it frozen at my Whole Foods. But yeah, I like it. I'm up for learning how to make it. I just saw one of my people that I follow on Instagram did brain and they showed it in the pan and what they did. I'm up for trying it. I will if I get my hands on those things. But definitely, and because I get my blood work taken so often because of Dr. Sivers and through my endocrinologist and oncologist, I can really see how eating liver affects my blood work. If I get taken like every 3 to 4 weeks. If I haven't had any liver, my B12 will drop down because I don't supplement anymore. That's another thing. Going carnivore, all supplements went away. The doctor can't believe it, but my B12 will drop down, not at any critical levels. But when I eat liver, it jumps way, way up to the high, high range. So it affects you that quickly. And that's another thing that's helped me tweak this is because I have the, if you want to call it a luxury of going to get my blood work done so often. And now I've learned how to read all the things and, they're checking creatinine. Oh, they check ferritin. They're checking this, they're checking that. And I'm starting to know what it means. And of course I listen to Dave Feldman all the time and getting into his science and Ivor Cummings. And, I'm just crazy for all that science stuff.
Me too. Me too. Talk about being a late bloomer. Isn't it great?
I love it. I was like,
I know.
I took the wrong path in my life, but that's okay because I'm here.
like you don't even think that this could be. It would be like, instead of pocketbooks and shoes, it's about your own health.
I know it's extraordinary, and I'll also have to say about watching your channel. First thing in the morning when I come in here, I do a little yoga and stretching. I start with you, and then I check and see what podcasts are hitting, what I'm going to listen to on my walk. And if I'm driving around, listen what I'm going to download so I can listen. But that keeps me, is the word abstinent right? It keeps me knowing that I am doing the right thing. And
It's
it keeps it
attending a meeting, a 12-step meeting to keep you, just food sober.
absolutely. Dr. Shivers talks about in the last chapter in that Low Carb USA about putting together groups, which I talked to him about when I was there last week.
Nice.
So, yeah, anyway, I know I gave a lot of your time, and I so appreciate you being here and the good work you do on this planet. And even though there's a lot of people like me out there that are just kind of lurkers, as you call them,
Lurker.
lurkers, not commenting. I never knew exactly what to write in the comments. I mean, a lot of the stuff you say and you mention, it's on one level, it's very deep on another, and quite profound, and has touched me. I mean, I'm like, I'm with you, like, Sarah. I'm here. I I am with you.
I'm so glad you are. Thank you, Laurel. Don't be a stranger. So
No,
thank you, Laurel, for being here. I'm going to say goodbye to you, or goodbye to the viewers, and then it's just you and me to close it out. So thank you, everybody, for watching Laurel. She was great. I hope you got as much out of her as I did. I hope you wrung her dry with what you got out of her. Thank you, Laurel.
thank you.